Hi, friends. I'm Mrs. Roos. Today we are going to build off the idea of unit fractions we started in a previous lesson. Let's get started. Let's take a look at the fraction that is shaded on the screen. What fraction is shaded? 1/2. We can write this fraction in two different ways. We can write 1/2 in unit form, or we can write 1/2 in its fraction form, like this. When we write 1/2 in its fraction form, what does this 2 represent? The number of equal parts the whole is cut into. We can see those equal parts on our drawing here and here. So if the 2 represents the 2 equal pieces, what does the 1 represent? It tells us that we are talking about one of the equal parts, one out of the 2 equal pieces. Let's take a look at a different situation. This circle is partitioned into a different unit. What unit is the circle partitioned into? Thirds. I see 3 equal pieces on the circle. If I do this, what fraction have I shaded? 1/3. I shaded 1 out of the 3 equal pieces that I had. I'm going to make a copy of my unit fraction. I used an interesting word there, copy. Reflect on what happened when I made a copy of my unit fraction. Maybe you noticed that I shaded in another one of our equal parts. Just like a copy machine, I made a copy of my unit fraction. So now how many units are shaded? 2/3. Let's count them. 1/3, 2/3. We can write the number 2/3 in fraction form like this. Reflect and then discuss what happened to our unit fraction of 1/3 when we made a copy. The one that was on top here became a 2, because just like 2 copies of one whole gives us 2 wholes, when we make 2 copies of 1/3, that gives us 2/3. We can also write 2/3 as the sum of the unit fractions, like this. And we can read this in 2 ways. We can either say 1/3 and 1/3 makes 2/3, or 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 2/3. Now it's your turn to try. Get your whiteboards ready. Here I have a rectangle that I partitioned into equal pieces. You notice I shaded one of those equal pieces. What does that make our unit fraction? 1/8. Now your job is to copy the shape onto your whiteboard. Make 4 copies of that unit fraction. Then write the new fraction you've created in unit form and fraction form. Finally, write the fraction as the sum of the unit fractions. Pause the video to do that now. Let's check our work. We started with 1/8. If I make 4 copies of 1/8, I would shade in 4 more pieces. So I would have 1 copy, 2 copies, 3 copies, 4 copies. You could have shaded in any 4 pieces that you would like, because we know each of these pieces represent 1/8. What does that make our new fraction? 5/8, which looks like this in unit form and this in fraction form. And this is what 5/8 looks like as the sum of the unit fractions. You see I have 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 to show 5/8. Let's try one more. Erase your whiteboard. Now on your whiteboard, copy the rectangle into 4 equal pieces that I drew here. Pause the video to draw your rectangle. Now you're going to show and write the unit fraction. Then make 2 copies of the unit fraction. Count the new fraction you've created and write that fraction in unit form and in fraction form. Finally, write the fraction as the sum of the unit fractions. Pause the video to complete this task now. Let me talk you through my thinking so you can check your work. I first shaded in 1 unit. That means the unit fraction is 1/4, since there were 4 equal pieces and I shaded in 1. I made 2 copies of the 1/4. So that means we had 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Remember, you could have shaded in any of these that you wanted, as long as you showed 3/4. 3/4 in unit form looks like this, and in fraction form looks like this. As the sum of the unit fractions, my equation would look like this. Now let's try this idea in the context of a word problem. Erase your board. Let's first read the problem aloud together. Ready? Read with me. Mrs. Putnam blew up 4 big balloons and 2 small balloons for a party. 1 balloon popped. What fraction of the balloons popped? What fractions of the balloons were left? Let's take this one chunk at a time. Mrs. Putnam blew up 4 big balloons and 2 small balloons for a party. Let's stop there and model those balloons. Pause the video if you still need some more time. Let's keep reading. 1 balloon popped. Let's show that on our model. I'm going to pop this balloon. Remember, since the problem doesn't tell us which balloon popped, you can pick any balloon you'd like. Now take a moment to write the fraction of balloons that popped and the fraction of the balloons that were left as the sum of the unit fraction. Pause the video to complete that now. Let's check your work. I knew that we started with 6 balloons, which makes every balloon 1/6 of the total, since they represent 1 out of the total 6 balloons. Since 1 balloon popped, that means that 1/6 of the balloons popped. Then we had 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 left. That gives us 5/6 of the balloons that were left.